This is a Thumbler's Tumbler Model B, pretty much like new. 5-quart barrel. These are the barrels I use on my ball mill. It's half full of 1/2-inch lead media. I mic'd some of the media. It's measuring .507, so it's not worn down at all. I'll show how the mill runs with that load. On my mill barrels, I have switched the bolts, which pop out and can be replaced with stainless steel bolts. I've replaced the bolts with stainless steel bolts, and I've replaced these sort of flimsy, sharp-edged wing nuts with stainless steel knurled knobs, which I really prefer to use. You can see details on that in the Ball Mill of My Dreams article. Okay, I'm about to plug the unit in. You notice it does not start when it's first plugged in. It just sit there and hums, but once you start it turning, you'll notice it was turning, but every now and then it slowed down. I'm not sure if it's sort of slipping on these rollers, on the drive roller. It does seem like, let me take this off for a minute. It does seem like there's a little bit of a film on the drive roller here and over here. It could just be slipping on the drive roller a little bit. Caleb sells an upgraded Rebel 17 base that fits this drum just fine, but it's also $500. I think this mill with a little tuning could be used. I know there's a replacement motor Caleb found at one time to replace this motor with a slightly beefier motor. But bottom line, the barrel and the media is very nice, and this, I would recommend working on this base some or getting a different base to run the ball mill jar on. This is the star roller this guy made. It has some interesting features which I'll try to point out. It does have wheels on it for tipping it back and rolling it around and moving it. I'll show you how the angle of the drum is adjusted. He's got this big nut handle on it, so you can go way back or you can go way forward, all the way down to there to dump it. It's got a variable speed on it. Go real slow. It's got an on-off switch. The motor, I'll show you the motor inside there. The motor is an interesting variable speed motor, a small pulley on the motor, large pulley on the drive shaft. I'm not sure what kind of motor's in there, but it seems to have plenty of power. To show an interesting feature of the thing is this drum is removable for cleanup and whatever. He's got these little clips on the back of it, 4 clips. And 4 clips on the drive wheel, and he's got a mark, a black mark here and a black mark on the wheel. Those black marks match up, and then the drum just twists onto that drive wheel. It's 2 30-gallon stainless steel bowls, a cut-free trim on the lip here. It's got a sealant on the inside that seals the 2 drums together. It looks like it's been used, but used pretty lightly. I don't see any signs of wear on the thing. So it's a pretty interesting design and a pretty nice unit. There's a grill cover that goes over the motor opening, and I'll put that grill cover back on. But essentially it looks pretty unused and looks pretty functional. This is what is essentially a brand new Dake hydraulic 10-ton bench top press. It's in brand new condition, has some extra parts, some spare, looks like rebuild parts for the cylinder, some spare parts in here for the unit, as well as an instruction sheet. It's got a replacement shoe where this looks like about an inch, maybe a 2-inch shoe could be removed, and this shoe here screwed on for different, probably arbor pressing, shop pressing type operations. Got a couple plates to go on the bottom across the bridge. Has a couple 3/4 inch spacers. Has the pins to raise the bridge height if desired. What else would I say about this? Oh, it has a 6-inch. I've got this pumped down as low as it'll go. Right now, the bridge is at the lowest setting, and I've got 8 3/4 inch working height. If I raise that, it goes up to 14 3/4. So the cylinder has a 6-inch throw on it. So the maximum working height over the table right now is 14 3/4. If a person was creative and they wanted more working height on this, getting some U-channel. This is currently 1 3/4 by 3 1/8 inch U-channel. Getting some longer lengths of U-channel and drilling them, and simply extending the side channels here. This could be raised to a taller working height if desired. I know the taller working height one model of this has got to be, I think it's $200 or $300 more than this benchtop model. And I'm going to calibrate. This has currently a 10-ton, actually it's a 16-ton, it looks like, gauge on it. I'm going to calibrate this gauge and see how that relates to a P2F unit that I have. I've taken this, actually I find this pump will hang on the side here of the frame. I find it's kind of cumbersome pumping it like that, but if it was bolted to the bench here, or just even laying on the bench, I can pump on this more easily. But anyway, maybe you can, I've laid the pump down on the bench like that. So, the bottom line is, there we go, I have pumped this up to pressure or force 1,000 pounds at a time, up to 10,000 pounds, and I have put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000. I've put hash marks on this gauge at 1,000 pound increments. This gauge doesn't really correlate to the actual force being applied. Neither of the scales on here seem to correlate to anything in terms of the force being put out. So for me, I would use a P2F unit if I was pressing something, or I would calculate exactly what hash mark I want to press up to, say for a star plate or a rocket, and I'd put a Sharpie mark on there. But I've got hash marks on here for 1,000 pound increments up to 10,000 pounds. So that's the press this guy had, and it's a nice press. It's one of the presses we regularly recommend for newcomers in terms of getting into some easy, high pressure, high force hydraulic pressing. Have a set of bucket star sizing screens. Looks like they have been cut on a CNC mill of some type. They're very precisely drilled, but I don't recognize them. I don't think they're mum screens. I'm not sure who made them, but they seem to be nice star sizing screens. They go from 1/4 inch to 5/8 in 1/16 in increments. 1/16 inch increments. So I got 1/4, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, 1/2 inch, 9/16, and 5/8. and there's a catch bucket to use with them. One nice feature they have in them is there's little pop rivets put in them to stop them atop the catch bucket, which is a feature I've not seen on star sizing screens, but I like it. I'm going to keep that in mind. It's a neat little feature to use to stop the sizing bucket from sliding too far into the catch bucket. So it's a nice set of 7 sizing screens, a 1/4 inch to 5/8 in 1/16 inch increments, and a catch bucket. The literature from this pyro shop got Round Stars and Shells by Dave Blesser, Introductory Practical Pyrotechnics from Paragon. You've got Weingart's, it's called Pyrotechnics in one version, or Dictionary and Manual of Fireworks, but this is Weingart. You've got the Display of Fireworks Operator Certification Guide from the PGI. You've got a pristine copy of FAST, Fireworks Art, Science, and Technique from Shimizu. A bunch of PGI bulletins. The best of AFN 2, 3, and 4. Bill Ofka's Volume 5, Mastering Cut Stars the Easy Way. And a binder that he had with just a whole bunch of different Passfire and Skylighter articles and projects in it. It's a pretty nice collection of literature. So really there's 2 DVDs. Lou Semenza's Traditional Canister Shell Construction DVD and Star Making Troubleshooting from Rolf Halverson, Jack Drews, and John Werner. John Werner is a very well-known fireworker, spent a lot of time, I think, with Dominator over in China. Have these mortars in the lot from this pyro. One 8-inch mortar, it's been used, but it's good and solid. 4 aluminum 6-inch mortars, they have welded bottoms in them. Those were actually originally Rossi guns. 1, 2, 3, 6 5-inch mortars. 3 of them are fiberglass, 3 of them are aluminum with welded bottoms. 6, 10, 14 4-inch mortars, all fiberglass. 50 3-inch mortars, all fiberglass. And then there are these 1 7/8 inch mortars for Class C type festival ball shells. There are 12 of them 10 inches long on the inside, and there are 5, 10, 15, 19 of them that are 6 inches long on the inside. Those would be for nice little mine shots or something. So a group of Class C festival ball type mortars. So all those mortars are included in this lot. This is the rigid job box from that pyro's shop. He had it anchored to a wall, sitting vertically, using it as an indoor Type 4 magazine. It's got 2 locks in it. I do not think these are the ATF approved locks. These only have a 3/8 inch shackle. These are not the ATF approved locks, but they're good locks. Master locks. It's got the wood lining for 3 shelves. It does have the shelves with it. This is in like new condition. If somebody wanted to ever just take this and take the wood out of it and use it as a job toolbox, it does have that shelf tray that goes in there to hold small tools and hardware and stuff. But this is essentially the type of rigid box that many of us use as indoor Type 4 magazines, as I show in that one article in fireworking.com. These are all the screens that are in this lot. There are 2 round bucket sorting screens, a 2 mesh, which is half inch squares, and a 4 mesh, which is 1/4 inch squares. Very nice for sorting stars, sorting BP, stuff like that. There are these sort of homemade 12 by 12 screens. Nice screen, nice tight and clean screen. There's a 100 mesh, a 40 mesh, and a 20 mesh. These screens here are the screens that Skylighter sold. There are two star-making, what they call star-making screens. This is what I would use in the screen slicing method. I can tell that this one has been used to screen slice stars. That is a 3 mesh, 3 by 3, 9 squares per square inch. There's two 3 mesh. And then for screening compositions and things, there are these nicely framed Skylighter screens. One is marked only chlorates. I guess he used that for chlorates, and be a good idea to wash that one thoroughly if it was going to be used for ammonium perchlorate or anything like that. But there's a 10 mesh, a 20 mesh, a 40 mesh, a 60 mesh, and 100 mesh in these screens. And these are primo screens, very tight, clean stainless steel screen. And then there's a very nice USA Pyro Supply 40 mesh screen in a very nice finished poplar frame. That measures 12 by 18. So those are the screens that are in this lot. This is a little firing system that came out of that Pyro's shop. Got a firing control panel. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of the individual field modules. Two are marked. This can fire up to 9, what they're calling districts. There's 2 marked 1, there's 3 marked 2, there's 1 marked 3, 2 marked 4, 3 marked 5, and there's 1 unmarked that have to be tested. And there are instructions in here on how to program one of these to a particular district. So this can fire up to 9 districts. You could have one of these set on one of 9 districts, and there can be 12 cues per district. I don't know anything about this firing system, so I'm not going to vouch for it. I can say that he paid $235 for it back when. There are a bunch of E-match that come with it. I'm going to test it to see if it's working. I just put fresh batteries in this field module. When you turn the field module on, there are green. If I unplug one of these cues, the continuity light goes out. When I plug a cue E-match into there, the continuity light goes on. So it is checking continuity at the module. And let's see how it works. This is set. That's a module number 2. This is set to district 2. Power's on. So it is working. This firing system is working. Like I said, I can't vouch for it. But like I say, it's a $235 firing system. Seems to be working fine. I would certainly test it before I relied on it in a display. There's probably several hundred E-match in here. Some of them seem to be the homemade ones made with Skylighter dip kit. Some of them seem to be Chinese E-match. All these in this box are Chinese E-match, factory made. So that's what's coming from that Pyro shop in this package. There's a mess of miscellaneous tools here. There's a large display calculator, 2 digital scales, a 3-inch shell, 2.5 diameter case former for making 3-inch cylinder shells. There's a coffee grinder, blender kind of thing. There's a micrometer, works well. It's old, been used hard, but it works well. Still goes right back to 0 on the dial micrometer. One of Bobby Cromer's Pyro Shakers, 40 mesh, and some extra 1/2-inch lead media to use in that. A nice ham meat slicing knife to cut stars with. Little 1.5-inch case warmer, 9/16. Stainless steel bowl, a PVC pipe cutter. How does that work? There we go. Anyway, there's a PVC pipe cutter. I'm not sure how that works right now. Another pipe cutter of PEX pipe cutter, probably. Real nice anvil cutters for cutting fuse. Little aluminum scoop. These would need to be cleaned up. 2 wallpaper seam rollers to use with the screen sliced star method. Some measuring spoon and a real nice paper cutter. I priced on Amazon for like 35 bucks, but this is in perfect shape. I've got the box for it there. So a nice I think I missed this. This is one of those Chinese cheapy resin star plates. I used these way back when in the beginning for a while. So there's a 1/2-inch star plate, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 stars at a time. So just a bunch of miscellaneous tools. These are the really high quality tools in the set. There's a 1/2-inch hard plated star plate. I believe this is a Walter plate. There's a 3/16-inch plate. This Walter plate makes 49 1/2-inch stars. This Firesmith Tools, Ben Smith's tool, makes 100 3/16-inch stars. This would be great for star cores to start star rolling with. 49 pin 3/8-inch plate. Once again, I believe that's a Walter plate. And the spacer bars, the necessary spacer bars for ejecting excess comp using the spacer bar. There's just a cheapy Chinese 1/2-inch individual star pump here. I believe that's 1.25 inch. Yeah, 1.25 inch plain Comet pump. An 1.75 inch cross-set tip, cruciform tip cross-set pump with the pin for ejecting just the right amount of comp and trimming it off before you eject the Comet itself. Have a 3/4 inch cruciform tip Comet pump. For this 1 3/4 inch cross-set pump, there is an ejection sleeve to use with that. There is a 3/4 inch cavity Comet pump. This makes color changing stars, filling the cavity with a different color than the main body of the Comet and then pasting the Comet in. So that's a cavity pump, 3/4 inch. And then there is a Ben Smith 3/4 inch 1-pound gerb tooling set with a brass spindle. These are all very high quality tools, and near as I can tell, if they were used at all, they were used very, very little. In the 3/4 inch plate, I do see some slight dents here on this top, so it was used at one time, and I'm not sure what would have made those dimples. When I'm using a star plate, I like to put a sacrificial aluminum plate on top of it to prevent that kind of thing. But all the pins and holes in the plates, all the pistons and cylinders and the pumps are pristine. It's like these tools were used very, very lightly, if at all. This lot for sale has a slew of fuse included in it. Probably first off, and most importantly, since it's very hard to procure now, this has got a couple miles of good Chinese Visco. The nice side spitting Visco. There's a little bit of more heavily lacquered Visco in here. This red American Visco, but all of that is Visco fuse, and there's a bunch of it there. This is something a lot of people look for nowadays, this fast fuse. There's a slew of this good fast fuse that burns almost instantaneously, especially if it's put in match pipe. There is very fast visco in here, and some of it is green. Now it's labeled, warning, this is fast visco. This stuff burns very, very rapidly. Don't confuse this with regular visco. And that's a real problem with having this stuff green. It's got a label that says it's very fast visco. It's got a warning tag that says it's very fast visco. This is also fast visco. There's some of that real thin cross-matching visco fuse that some people look for cross-matching. All of this is special effects fuse. There's falling leaves fuse. There's flying fish fuse. There's crackle fuse. A lot of special effects fuse. This is stuff that Skylight sold years ago. There's some paper quick match. This is stuff that Precocious Pyrotechnics sells. Got one fat strand of black powder, black match in it. So a whole bundle of paper wrap quick match. This is perchlorate, not black powder quick match, but this is good for shell leaders and stuff. So a roll and a half of perchlorate quick match and a lot of very high quality time fuse. 2 full rolls plus some. And this is high quality time fuse. It's got, all of this has the fat powder core. So this is very nice. I think one of these rolls might even be Japanese. I'm not quite sure. But very good time fuse and quite a bit of it here. So there's a few miles of fuse here. And I'm just going to lump it all together and I'm going to call it $500 worth of fuse. I'm sure that's what it would have cost originally. And this visco alone is worth having for sure. These are all the paper products that I've sort of sorted out. There's, I don't know, 100 or so. Good strong, I think these are Phil's tubes. Good strong spiral wound, 7.5 inch, 3/4 inch ID, 1 inch OD. Rocket tubes, good for black powder rockets. There's a whole slew of them, probably 100 of them in there. There's a bag of tubes that are 3/8 inch ID by about 5/8 OD by 1 inch long. I have no idea what they'd be good for. But there is a bag of box star type tubes or salute type tubes. There's 500 of them in here. These are 1.5 inch long, 1/2 inch ID, 5/8 OD, along with plugs for them. So good salute tubes. There's a whole box of small ball shell casings. There's, I guess, 100 or so that are 1 and almost 1.5 OD, so it'd be good for consumer size festival ball shells. There's a bag of slightly larger Hemis in here for probably 2 inch shells. These things measure 1 3/4 OD. So a bunch of small shell Hemis. There's a mess of 4 3-inch shells, but they're 2.5 inch discs, solid and with a time fuse hole in them. Probably 100 each of those, 2.5 inch diameter for 3-inch shells. There's a mess of solid, I guess they're all solid, yeah, 3.5 inch discs for 4-inch shells. There is a whole box, I guess probably a good 100 sets or so. All this is just guessing on the numbers. I'm not going to be real precise about this, but these are 3.5 diameter for 4-inch shells. A whole box of 4-inch shell casings. There is a whole box of 3-inch shell casings, probably a couple 100 sets of 3-inch shell casings, 2.5 inch diameter for 3-inch shells. There is a whole box, I don't know, 50 sets or so of 5-inch shell Hemis. 4.5-inch diameter for 5-inch shells, probably 50 sets in there. There is, I'll move this over here a little bit, got a fair amount of gum tape. I'm going to put this in a plastic bag so it doesn't get damp. Got one roll of 1-inch, 3 and a couple partial rolls of 3/4 inch, and a mess of 1/2-inch diameter gum tape for taping like 3-inch shells and smaller. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 partial rolls of craft paper here. So a whole slew of paper goods that would just be listed as paper goods in the product listing. Okay, I'm going to start going through the chemicals in this stash. And I honestly probably can't think of a chemical that's not in here. These are all the aluminums, and I'm just going to lump these together as 9 pounds of aluminum in the listing. There are 2 pounds of bright aluminum flake 325. This could be used in slow flash booster. There's another pound of 325 mesh bright aluminum flake. There are a couple different mixes, 2 pounds plus another pound of firefly type aluminum, the finer flake firefly type stuff, and then the coarse flake firefly aluminum. So a mix of those makes a nice firefly star. There's some Indian blackhead, a little less than a pound probably. There's some German blackhead, so 2 flash aluminums in there. 200 to 325 mesh aluminum, 100 to 325, and 50-50 325 mesh. The turnings have been removed from that, so that's just minus 325 mesh aluminum. Once again, a salute type aluminum. So there's 9 pounds of mixed aluminum in there. There's about 4 pounds of magnesium in here. There's 2 full pounds of minus 160 to 230 plus 230. That would be really nice in color stars. Another 200 to 325 mesh fine magnesium. Total of about 4 pounds of magnesium. It's 1 pound of 30 to 60 mesh, relatively coarse. I like to put that in glitters to increase the glitter. And there's some minus 60 mesh and some 200 to 325 mesh magnesium. So about 4 pounds of mixed magnesium. There's about 10 pounds of titanium in here. There's a granular titanium, minus 120 mesh, fairly fine. There's 120 mesh and minus 40 to plus 300 spherical. This minus 120 is granular. This is spherical. There's a few other sphericals. There's 2 pounds in here that look to be about, I want to say 40 mesh, 30 to 40 mesh. There's 5 pounds of this minus 60 to 125 mesh spherical titanium. And then there's just a little bit of ferro titanium here. So about 10 pounds of basically mixed titanium. There's some mixed metals, 1 pound of silicon, 2 pounds plus another ½ pound or so of, 2 pounds plus another ½ pound or so of zinc dust. Makes zinc stars, real pretty stars. And about a pound of steel powder for sparklers and stuff. There's 4 pounds of antimony trisulfide, good for glitters, your traditional glitters. 4 pounds of that. I've got about 7 pounds of titanium dihydride. For a while, Harry at Skylighter was selling this stuff. There's a blog post you can Google, a Skylighter blog on titanium dihydride. It's basically an alloy of titanium that contains some aluminum and vanadium, and also in each molecule is some hydrogen. So it's titanium dihydride. This is a fine powder. It's not going to really produce sparks since it's so fine, but he suggested in the blog that it be used in silver stars, a white flame, or to brighten color stars. He even had a little bit of a contest to see how it could be used. He suggested substituting this for another metal fuel such as aluminum or magnesium. So there's 7 pounds of this. He was originally selling it for 13 bucks a pound. It's be worth experimenting with. I never did experiment with it, so I don't know what can be done with it. Moving on to charcoal type stuff. I've got about 4 pounds of air float charcoal, a pound of lamp black, a pound of 36 mesh charcoal, and about 5 pounds of 80 mesh charcoal. So a nice mix of charcoal mesh sizes plus some lamp black. About 9 pounds total of charcoal type stuff. I have a pound of dextrin and 3 pounds of SGRS, soluble glutinous rice starch. Both of them binders used in stars and such. Got 12 pounds of sulfur and 5 pounds of red gum. Red gum's gotten a little bit tough to access right now, so it's actually a little over 5 pounds of red gum. I have some miscellaneous chemicals here. I have a pound of cryolite, a pound of stearic acid, about 2 pounds of rice hulls, 3 pounds of Parlon, a pound of boric acid, a pound of lactose, and a pound of molecular sizz, which can be nice for either drying acetone or starting rolled stars on. Continuing with the various miscellaneous chemicals theme, these are a lot of color providers for formulas. Got a pound of red iron oxide. I've got 4 pounds of strontium carbonate, 2 pounds of copper carbonate, a little over 2 pounds of black copper oxide, a pound of calcium carbonate, a pound of potassium dichromate, 2 pounds of sodium oxalate, nice for a nice glitter, a pound of hexamine, and a pound of PVC. Once again, a wide variety of chemicals that are used in various formulas. It's nice to have a good formulary on hand. What do we got? Sodium benzoate, 3 pounds of sodium benzoate, 5 pounds of sodium bicarbonate, baking soda. Not sure why somebody would have bought food grade baking soda, but there's 5 pounds of baking soda, nice for various glitters. Potassium benzoate, we've got 4 pounds of potassium benzoate. So between sodium benzoate, potassium benzoate, some makings for some whistle mix. And finally getting to the bottom of the chemical pile, got about 25 pounds of potassium nitrate. Some of it has been hammer milled and some of it is prills that will need to be ball milled. 1 pound of barium chlorate. Potassium chlorate, got 4 pounds. And I've got 10 pounds of potassium chlorate. So that was 4 pounds of potassium perchlorate and 10 pounds of potassium chlorate. So that rounds out, that's the oxidizers, and that rounds out the chemical stash.